Hey everybody, Brian King here. One of my fellow Facebook friends asked me to do a video on transitions. Now, those of you who have kids with Asperger's, autism, ADHD know how difficult it is to get your child to stop doing one thing and to move to another activity. One thing you need to keep in mind is that wonderful spectrum of abilities that we call executive functions. And there are two in particular that we're talking about here. First one is flexibility. The second one is impulse control. Is when it comes to impulse control, the difficulty our kids have is in stopping. That's why they blurt things out. That's why they think about touching somebody and then they do it. And if they have difficulty with impulse control and you're asking them to stop doing something, then you're running into that executive function. And it makes sense then that once your child is caught up in an activity, that they have a hard time stopping. And you just say, stop, turn off the video game, or, turn off the TV and let's go do this other thing. And then they're suddenly upset. Well, you're asking them to do something that you know they're inherently challenged with. Now, the flexibility piece is, can they make the transition? Can they smoothly move from one thing to the other? Or do they get really stuck in what they're doing? And if they have issues with both of those things, it's going to be harder to move them. So this is why I found works with my own boys. And for those of you who don't know, I have 3 boys with Asperger's who also have ADHD. So when I see them engrossed in a TV program or in a video game, what I'll do first is I will get their attention. I'll say their name. I'll say, excuse me, Connor, I need your attention for a moment. And then when I think I'll have his attention, I'll say, do I have your attention now? And he'll say yes. And I'll say, what we need to do next is we need to leave in 5 minutes, or it's time for dinner in 5 minutes. What is the first thing you need to do to finish what you're doing? So what I've done is I've shown his brain how to make that shift to the new thing, because he automatically doesn't really necessarily know how to do that. So I'll basically give him the directions or the instructions for making the shift. What's the first thing you need to do to finish what you're doing, so that he can begin doing it. And then checking with him a little bit later, are you done now? Okay, what do you need to do to completely finish with this? Probably turn something off. Okay, now, what do you need to do now in order to get ready for the next thing? And the more you talk them through it and train them in how to do it, the easier it becomes. So nowadays, I can just say to my boys, hey, it's time to finish up what you're doing. We have to leave in 5 minutes. And more often than not, they'll do it. But sometimes they get really stuck in it because they still have those executive function challenges. And I'll say, okay, what do you need to do right now to finish what you're doing? And if I need to stand there until they do it, so be it. It adds that extra leverage. And then when they do make the transition, you can say, awesome, you did a great job at getting ready. So you praise them for what they're doing so that they don't feel criticized, or they don't feel as stressed out because of how difficult that shift was. Because the reality is, when you have those executive functioning challenges, making a transition can be psychologically painful. It can be disorienting because we don't really have the wiring to do that comfortably. So asking your child, stop this and do that, is actually an unpleasant experience. Not because you're just moving them from a preferred activity to a non-preferred activity, but even if it was from one preferred to another, the quicker you ask them to make the shift, but you don't support them in the shift, the more upsetting it can be. And then the next thing you know, they're crabby, they're whiny, they don't want to do it, and it's actually something they enjoy. So them saying, this is stupid, I don't want to go, I never liked it, you can be left puzzled saying, well, what is this all about? I thought you enjoyed this. It was because the transition was painful. So the more you can support them in making that shift from A to B, the smoother it can be, the more supported your child will feel, and the more pleasant the experience can be. I hope this has been helpful. If so, pass it on. This is Brian King, and I'll talk to you again soon.